What if the voice inside your head wasn't just a thought, but a shadow that demanded blood? For Dexter Morgan, this wasn't imagination or madness. It was real. A constant whisper, guiding his every move, shaping his destiny, and feeding on his darkest desires. This was the Dark Passenger. And now, for the first time, Dexter is no longer just obeying it. He is standing face to face with it, forced to confront the thing that has controlled him his entire life. Dexter Morgan has always been two men in one body. On the surface, he wore the mask of normal life. A forensic blood spatter expert with a quiet charm. Someone who blended into society with ease. To his coworkers at Miami Metro, he was dependable, brilliant, even a little awkward, but harmless. To his sister Deborah, he was family, someone she could trust. To his son Harrison, he tried to be a father, a protector, but beneath that mask lived a storm, a hunger that couldn't be explained away by reason or choice. This hunger had a name. Dexter called it the Dark Passenger. From the earliest days of his childhood, Dexter knew he wasn't like other kids. While they laughed and played, he was haunted by an emptiness that pushed him toward violence. It wasn't simple anger. It wasn't revenge. It was a need, sharp, relentless, unshakable. His foster father, Harry, saw it too. Harry realized his son had a drive that couldn't be cured, a pull toward killing that no therapy could erase. So Harry made a choice. If Dexter couldn't silence the Dark Passenger, then at least he could steer it. That's how the code was born, a strict set of rules that guided Dexter's killings. He would never harm the innocent. He would only target those who deserved it, murderers who slipped through the cracks of justice for years. This code gave Dexter a strange sense of purpose. He wasn't just killing to satisfy the Dark Passenger, he was, in his own way, cleaning the world. And yet, no matter how carefully he followed Harry's code, the voice never went away. The passenger was always there, whispering, demanding, reminding him that he wasn't like anyone else. To outsiders, Dexter seemed calm, even emotionless. But inside, the battle raged. Every time he held his son Harrison, he wondered, could he ever be free of this shadow? Could he ever be a real father, not just a mask pretending to love? Every time he looked into Deborah's eyes, he felt the crushing weight of a secret he could never share. And every time he hunted a victim, the passenger grew stronger, wrapping itself around him tighter, like chains that could never be broken. Now, in Dexter, resurrection, that balance has shattered. Years of running, hiding, and trying to bury the truth have failed. The passenger is no longer content to lurk in the background. It is stepping forward, louder, more demanding, more powerful. And for the first time, Dexter must ask himself a terrifying question. What if the Dark Passenger isn't just a part of him? What if it is him? The Dark Passenger wasn't something Dexter discovered as an adult. It was born with him, woven into his blood, carved into his very being. To understand Dexter's darkness, you have to go back to the moment that made him. Dexter's earliest memory wasn't of laughter, toys, or warmth. It was of blood. He was just a toddler, too young to speak in full sentences, when his life was drowned in horror. Trapped in a shipping container with his older brother, Brian, Dexter witnessed his mother's brutal murder. Chainsaws roared, screams filled the air, and then silence. She was gone, cut apart before his eyes. For hours, maybe days, Dexter sat in her blood. The sticky red soaked his skin, filled his nostrils, and painted his first picture of the world. That memory never left. It wasn't just trauma. It was a seed, a wound so deep it cracked something inside him. While most children learned love and safety from their parents, Dexter learned silence, fear, and death. That's when the passenger first whispered. He didn't have a name for it then, but the hunger was already alive. Growing stronger with every beat of his tiny heart, Harry, his foster father, noticed the signs early. Dexter wasn't like other kids. He didn't cry when pets died. He didn't flinch at violence. He found fascination in blood. Small animals disappeared from the neighborhood, and Harry saw the truth. His son had a darkness he couldn't ignore. At first, Harry tried to protect him, to believe love could change him. But as Dexter grew older, The urges became impossible to hide. That's when Harry made his fateful choice. Instead of letting Dexter become a monster that preyed on the innocent, he would teach him to channel it. Harry taught Dexter to only kill those who deserved it, people who had killed and escaped justice. In Harry's words, this would give Dexter purpose. It would make the passenger manageable, maybe even useful. But the truth was more complicated. The passenger didn't care about justice. It didn't care about Harry's code. It only cared about feeding. Dexter himself came to realize that the passenger wasn't just a shadow. It was a presence, a voice that wasn't spoken out loud, but still clear in his mind. It told him when to strike, how to stalk, when to release the need. Sometimes it whispered softly, urging him forward, like a gentle hand. Other times it screamed, violent and merciless. When Dexter resisted too long, but here's the thing, the passenger was never satisfied. No matter how many lives Dexter took, no matter how carefully he followed Harry's code, the hunger always returned. Each kill was just a temporary silence. It's like throwing water on a fire that would never go out, and yet Dexter found comfort in it. The passenger was the only constant in his life. Friends came and went. Lovers broke his trust. Even Deborah, his anchor, was taken from him. But the passenger remained. Always watching. Always waiting. Always there. That's why in Dexter, Resurrection, the origins of the passenger become more important than ever. Because for the first time, Dexter begins to wonder, was the passenger truly born in that shipping container, or was it always inside him, waiting for the perfect moment to rise? Every killer leaves behind a crime scene. Dexter's wasn't always marked by blood or corpses. Sometimes it was written on his face when no one else was watching. To the world, he looked calm, collected, even harmless. But inside, there was always a storm he had to cage behind a smile. Dexter's entire life became a performance. At work, he was the quiet but brilliant blood spatter expert, piecing together murders with clinical precision. His colleagues joked about his awkwardness, about how little they really knew him, and that was the point. The mask worked. They laughed, and Dexter laughed with them, but inside, he wondered if they would scream if they ever saw the truth. At home, the performance continued. As a husband, as a father, as a brother, Dexter rehearsed emotions he never fully felt. He practiced smiles in mirrors, nodded at the right times, learned the rhythm of small talk, and forced himself to care in ways he never naturally could. The mask became so convincing that sometimes even Dexter wanted to believe it. But then the passenger would whisper, and the illusion would shatter. The struggle was simple and endless. Dexter wanted to live as a man. But the passenger demanded he live as a predator. Every ordinary moment, dinner at the table. Harrison's laughter, Deborah's faith in him felt fragile. Like glass that could break the second, the hunger grew too loud. There were times when Dexter thought he was winning. When he looked into Harrison's eyes, he felt something. A flicker of love, a spark of humanity he thought he didn't have. For a moment, the passenger grew quiet, like a beast watching from the shadows, waiting to see what would happen next. But peace never lasted. The silence always broke. The need always returned. And with it came guilt. The guilt of knowing he could never give his son a life free from shadows. Deborah was the other half of his mask. His anchor to normality. She loved him without knowing the full truth, and that love forced Dexter to ask himself questions he didn't want answers to. Could he be a brother in more than name? Could he ever let her see who he really was? Deep down, Dexter feared the answer. Because if she truly saw the passenger, she wouldn't see a brother. She'd see a monster, and that was the heart of his internal struggle. Was the passenger something he carried, or was it who he truly was? Every time Dexter put a victim on his table, he told himself it was justice. He told himself it was the code. But in the dark silence that followed, when the body was gone and the blood was washed away, the truth pressed down on him. He did it because the passenger demanded it. In Dexter, Resurrection. This conflict rises higher than ever. The mask begins to slip. The passenger grows louder, more defiant, no longer content to stay hidden in the corners of Dexter's mind. For years, Dexter lived in the space between man and monster. But now he is forced to realize maybe that middle ground doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the passenger has already won. For years, Dexter thought he could outsmart the darkness. He thought he could bury it under a new name, a new town, a new life. After the storm in Miami, after Deborah's death, after the chaos of blood and lies, Dexter disappeared. He became someone else, Jim Lindsay, a quiet man in a cold northern town, as far away from the beaches and crime scenes that once defined him. On the surface, it looked like freedom, a chance to start over, a chance to silence the passenger once and for all. But the truth was never that simple. Darkness doesn't vanish just because you change your address. The passenger followed him, waiting in the stillness of frozen mornings, watching him through the lonely nights.